How's it going, everybody? I'm hopefully going to be doing this in one take, but as promised, I wanted to go over my rental analysis process. When I look at a single family home and some fourplex, triplex, duplexes, this is what I use to analyze really quickly whether or not it's going to be worth my time even putting in an offer and getting inspections and going through the whole process. Really quickly, I always find these numbers, and you only need a few numbers, and then you can do the math on the rest of them. And these aren't super exact numbers. They aren't going to be down to the dollar and the cent, but they are generalizations to figure out whether or not this property in particular would fit my rule, would fit my criteria for what I'm looking for in a return in a rental property. So let's make a couple of assumptions here. My first assumption is that we found a property for $100,000. Let's say that it's a duplex. All right? So I know that my purchase price is $100,000. So we go to down payment and closing costs. Well, we know that down payment on that, on a commercial loan, would be 20%. 20% down payment. And then let's assume $3,000 in closing that we have to pay. So we're at $23,000 to close on the property. All right, that's all great, but what does it rent for? Here in my area of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, I could probably rent out a 2-2 duplex, two bedroom for $1,500 a month. That's pretty competitive around here. I feel like I could get that rented fairly quickly. So let's say $1,500 a month. What does that translate to in yearly income? If we collected rent every month, it'd be $18,000 a year. So $18,000 in gross rents. All right? But we know that it's not free to own and operate a rental property. In a perfect world, we'd just be bringing home $18,000 a year. That'd be fantastic. We'd be making like 80% of that initial cost, right? In the first year. But there are some operating costs. Every year we owe taxes. We have to have insurance on the property. And these other three here are to assume that we have to pay for certain things throughout the years. One is 5% vacancy. What's the general vacancy rate in your area? You can call a landlord, a bigger landlord here in town, and ask them, hey, what's your vacancy rate? And they could probably give you a good number. When it comes to just one property though, this is with single family houses, you're either at 8% vacancy or you're at no vacancy, because 1/12 of a year is 8%, So I always put 5% though, just to kind of be conservative with my numbers. So what are taxes on a $100,000 property? Just knowing what I know off the top of my head, probably about $850 a year. So let's say $850. So $850. What would insurance be on a $100,000 duplex? I could probably estimate that it would be about $900. $900 a year. 5% of 18,000. So we're going to take 5% of this number right here. 5% of 18,000 is 900. So we have 900 that we're going to expect to hold out every year for vacancy, 900 that we expect to pay in maintenance, and 900 that we're going to expect to withhold in capital expenditure cost. What this means is that if we bought this property and we said, we know that roof is 10 years old, it probably has 10 years more of life in it. What is the cost of that roof divided by 120 months, another 10 years? What does that cost, and how much of that do we take out of our rent to make sure that we're not paying for it out of our pockets unexpectedly when we have to? Well, just a general rule of thumb, let's assume that number is 5% of the rent. We save that every year. All right? So we have $18,000 minus, let's do some math here. We have $18,000 minus $850 for taxes, minus $900 for insurance, minus $900 for vacancy, minus $900 for maintenance, minus $900 for capital expenditures. That leaves us with a net operating income of $13,550. This number right here is your net operating income, or your NOI. regardless if you have a mortgage on the property or not. So let's say you bought this all in cash, $100,000 cash to buy this property. This would be what you're left over with. This is called an NOI. This would be 13.5% of the purchase price. So you're looking at NOI in forms of percentage. You make a 13.5% NOI. On a multifamily unit, this would be called your cap rate. So if you ever hear the term cap rate, they're referring to this net operating income number right here. All right, we know that not all of us have $100,000 in cash to go and buy our first investment property. We're probably gonna make a down payment, pay some closing costs, and open up a mortgage on this place. So let's say that our mortgage was $80,000 after a 20% down payment. Let's say that it's at prime at 5% interest, amortized over 20 years. What that means is that you borrowed $80,000, it is at a 5% interest rate, and if you were to pay off equal payments every year, $80,000 at 5% over 20 years, that gives you your monthly payment. It's called the amortization period. Now, there will be another video where I explain that your commercial loan is probably a 7-year loan amortized over 20 or 25 years. It means that it balloons at 7 years. At that point, you probably refinance. But let's figure out exactly what that payment would be. There's a financial calculator that I use for this. You just put in loan amount, percentage over 20 years. That would be $527 a month, or $6,335 a year. So now we have $6,335. Let's round that up to $6,400 just to make this easy. $6,400. That's your mortgage every year. So then we take net operating income, and this is the number I'm super interested in. It's called your cash on cash return. You had to come up with $23,000 to buy this place out of your pocket. What are you left with after you pay all of this stuff? We're super conservative. We're accounting for maintenance. We're accounting for future expenses, furnace, AC, dishwasher, roof is the big one. We've already gotten our taxes and insurance. We pay our mortgage. What are we left over with? Well, $13,550 minus $6,400 gives us a cash-on-cash return of $7,150. So I take this $7,150, I divide it by our down payment, our closing cost here, $23,000, and that gives us a 31% return in our first year on our initial $23,000 investment. These numbers are, like I said, are pretty general. There's I have an advantage because I'm a realtor. I've been doing this for a while. But after you end up doing this for a while too, you'll know these numbers like the back of your hand. And that's my goal. When I'm working with any investors, any potential investors, any aspiring real estate investors that want to get into rental properties, there's a whole other formula for flips. I want them to know these numbers just off the top of their head. If we purchase a house for $100,000 and we know that rents are $18,000 or $21,000 or whatever they may be, we know that taxes in the area are around the same for that price of house, insurance. We can do 5% percentages, in our head or on a calculator. We know our net operating income. Then it's about finding this number right here with a good banker that still makes this number make sense. Anything over 30% for me is an awesome investment. If I told you that I would take $23,000 of your money and put it in the stock market, and I could promise you at least 30% return on your money, wouldn't you give me your money? Of course you would. So why wouldn't you buy the property that probably already has an operating history? You could probably already pull reports on that property from rent rolls from the previous landlord. Why wouldn't you invest in real estate? Well, some of the things that keep people from doing that are they just don't know enough. That's the number one thing, is that they spend all this time trying to research it, that they come up with analysis paralysis. They spend so much time thinking about what they want to do that they never actually pull the trigger. You know, I heard this quote recently. It's from a movie called Blow with Johnny Depp in it. And he said that so many people are making grand plans in their life that they end up missing it. They spend so much time making all these plans for their life that it ends up passing them by. So my challenge to anybody who gets to the end of this video is, what is your financial goal with your money? If you're an investor, where do you want to put your money? Because if I could tell you that 25, 30, 35%, there's some properties that I make 70% on my cash back every year. 70%, because I got into them the right way. There will be other videos about how to find properties that you can also draw some equity out of. So maybe we got this property for 30 grand instead of 100,000. We put 30 grand into it, so we're 60 in, and now it appraises for 100 grand, and we still get $18,000 a year in rents. That's insane. If you want to learn anything more, if you want to get more in depth on these numbers, please reach out to me. My name's Steven Schott. I'm with Ritter Real Estate here in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, on the Bright Laser Broker team. It's my job, it's my goal to help you get started investing in real estate, to get more people in their communities invested in their community. Thank you, guys.